Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you so much for the opportunity you've given us yet to learn something. Lord God, we thank you for the lives that you have given us as well. We want to pray and trust that whatever we are doing is all going to be for your glory and for the purpose of what you have created us for. May you give us more insight. May you give us more knowledge and understanding so that whatever we learn from here is what we shall be able to implement in our various institutions. I pray you are going to give us good health, and those who have not joined, Lord, touch them. May they be able to join so that we learn together and we're able to grow. In Jesus' mighty name I've prayed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for the word of prayer, Mrs. Lydian. So I'm going to take a recap of what we had yesterday. So yesterday was our lesson 4, and now we are at coding level 2, and our topic was empowerment in writing an algorithm. So those who are joining in for the first session are Lydian. One of the uses of this coding is to help us simplify work. So through coding, we can be in position to monitor our gardens. We can be able to monitor the kinds of pests. We can be able also to predict what we shall obtain from any given field. Take an example, when you plant an acre, you can be able to make a prediction using the coding knowledge on what you should expect at the end of the season. So yesterday, we went on and looked at what we called empowerment in writing an algorithm, and we said that those are the tools or that we can be able to use under empowerment. And we say that we need some equipment and we need to have the skills in order for us to be able to use them. So we talked about the different languages that we can use when we are doing coding. And we talked about the Python, the C++, the Java, and those are some of the programming languages that can help us to come out. But Professor was able to emphasize that each of those programming languages has a specific task that it can perform. So you choose a language depending on the kind of work that you are executing or that you are going to be able to do. So note that every programming language is designed for a particular task. But he told us that Python is commonly used for multi-purpose programming and like things of web development, data analysis, and scientific computing. So that was briefly what we looked at. And allow me now to invite the professor to start off with today's discussion. Professor, you're most welcome.
Well, thank you, Stephen, for that elaboration of the lesson yesterday on empowerment. And so today we are going to start our lesson 5 of building capacity so that the people can be able to deliver on the software solution across the entire life cycle of software development. So I'm in the process of sharing my screen. And I'll be sharing it soon for all of you to see. And if you can be able to see it, then you let me know that you are seeing it.
We can see it.
You can see it, eh? Okay, that's wonderful. So the lesson today is building capacity to deliver a software solution. Building capacity is building on the empowerment. Yesterday, I emphasized that empowerment is more of getting the skills. It is being skilled to code, like learning the language skill, learning Python, Java, JavaScript, C++, also learning coding the algorithms. That's all empowerment. But when it comes to capacity building, it requires resources because now you have to practice all the steps until you deliver, or your code can be used by the users to solve a problem. Software development or of coding. We shall have, this is the outline. I realize my internet is unstable, so feel free to, let's be interactive. If there is a problem, you let me know. Are we together?
Yes, we are. I'm getting you there.
Okay, the outline is as follows. Introduction. Then the capacity building is now going to be a teaching on these practices. These practices or tasks are the ones that are carried across the entire life cycle of coding to deliver an application on the market for end users. It has requirement gathering or needs assessment, as we commonly call it in training, then database design, user interface design, sample management, test parameter selection, test result entry, data analysis and reporting, data storage and backup, security and access control, integration and scalability, testing and quality assurance, deployment and training, requirement gathering, and acknowledgements. That's what we shall be covering. But if you look at some other references, it simplifies these steps into requirement gathering, analysis, design, coding, then testing your code, and implementing. Others call it deployment and training, which we have here. So, but it is the entire life cycle. So, the introduction. Capacity building in delivering a software solution goes beyond skilling, which we saw yesterday in empowerment, to a higher level of practice using problem-solving algorithms structured with syntax codes to execute an operation and deliver it to the production environment. It builds on empowerment, which involves equipping the coder to shift from just skilling to practice teaching of delivering a software solution. So as you realize, today we are shifting gear from empowerment, just getting skills, to the actual practice of coding. Practice teaching of coding entails that the learner sits in the driver's seat and executes wholly the step-by-step life cycle of software solution delivery to the production environment. Unfortunately, today I'm not going to do practice teaching because there you yourselves as the learners must sit in the seat. For example, if I'm supervising you for a project or a thesis, a degree thesis, or a diploma certificate, then you go through those processes. What I'm going to do today, this lesson will focus on teaching the coding practice rather than practice teaching. When we meet, then we shall be doing practice teaching where you sit in the driver's seat. But since today I'm in the driver's seat, I'm only teaching the coding practice. And so what we are going to go through is building capacity based on teaching the coding practice rather than practice teaching. It's the difference which makes a difference. And that's why you see in many cases, people are unemployed or they are not able to deliver to the market, because what we often do is teaching the practice rather than practice teaching. So maybe at the end of this training, we shall discuss how we shall be able to move into practice teaching, because that will be the emphasis of the light, open, and blended university, practice teaching rather than teaching the coding practice. So the first step is requirement gathering. If you are going to deliver a software solution to solve a problem practically that end users will benefit from effectively and efficiently, you must gather information, do a needs assessment. And that includes understanding the project scope, identifying the stakeholders, and you can conduct focus group discussions, workshops to gain insights on these requirements. You can document these requirements both on the functional and non-functional requirements such as the quality, performance, scalability, and security of the code. And then you can work with the stakeholders to prioritize those requirements based on their needs and the expected impact. You can also do validation and clarification of the requirements with them. You can use prototypes and mock-ups, kind of illustrations, so that you are not just beating in the air, but you have some demonstrations of what they can be able to see. This morning when I was reflecting on a code, for example, if you are not able to write a mathematical code like in the health sciences, and they want to build back your teeth, they often get cement and put in the hole that they want to fill. Then they remove it, and then they ask the machine to kind of move around that prototype, and then it designs the filling that is going to go into your teeth. Also the same with the crown for the teeth. So illustrations can help to mimic the real expected output of the software. Then you can draw attention to constraints and dependencies. Because when we say capacity, you can do training, but for capacity building, you must have the tools, equipment, and all of that. Significant resources are required for building capacity. Then involvement of the development team. As we've been mentioning almost in all the previous, coding cannot be done as an island. You have to collaborate closely with the other members in order to gather information, to validate the feasibility, to identify technical requirements, and see how you can be able to work together to address the different steps. Then you must be able to build a system of documenting the changes. There are changes that emerge, and you need to maintain a change log to document those modifications and communicate them effectively with the rest of the team members of the development team and other stakeholders. Then you also need to establish a feedback loop so that throughout the entire software development life cycle, you have an open line of communication with stakeholders to seek their feedback, address their concerns, ensure that the software solution aligns with their expectations so that at the end, you have a cost-effective product. Then once you have gathered the requirements, you go into the database design. And this is crucial to the performance, integrity, scalability of the software solution. You need to understand the requirements of the software solution, identify entities and its attributes, define the relationships, also normalize the data and determine the data types. You need also to establish the primary the table and ensures data integrity. As we have seen in programming, you use big data. For example, if it is in agriculture, you will have soils data. It may not be only in one profile where you are going to grow the crop, but you may have a whole map of a farm. And on that map, you have different properties: moisture, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. Then you have data that relate to the plants, plant data. Then you have data in the temperature, relative humidity. So you must be able to generate tables where your data sets can be, each record can be identified. Then you also need to define secondary keys or indexes that will improve the query if you are searching out data, whether it is on soils, on plants, and sorting it out, whether it's for nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, so that you improve performance. Then you have to assess performance and scalability to optimize database design. Then you also to plan for data security. You know, data is very expensive to collect, and so you must ensure that in your design, you pay attention to its security, safety, access control, and all of that. So security measures to protect sensitive data by defining access controls, permissions, encryption mechanisms to ensure data privacy, and also to bar unauthorized access. If hackers enter your database, then whatever you are doing will be wasted. And it's not only you, because when you are coding, you code as a team. So resources, time, and all of that for many people of the developers would be wasted. So all that when we are building capacity, these practices, you must go through them and pay attention to them. Each and every one of them is very critical. If anyone fails, as you know, that the weakest point in the chain breaks it. So all of whatever we have here, you must be able to go through it and appreciate it. So you also have to consider database maintenance. Then also, and this is done by planning routine tasks such as backup, data archiving, performance monitoring to optimize the database design. You know, if you don't, then you run down the speed of your processors. Then you have to document the database design by ensuring a comprehensive documentation of the database design, including entity relationship diagrams, schema diagrams, data dictionaries to serve as reference for stakeholders, but also for future updates to the software solution. If you don't do that and you are away, then it becomes difficult to be able for other developers in the team to be able to help in the process. Then the user. This is very, very important because, as you know, in this day and age, some people may no longer be able to access desktops. So others are able to use tablets, others mobile phone. So you must pay attention to create a user-friendly interface for capturing and managing that information, which provides a positive user experience for whoever is using it, whether somebody is using a desktop, mobile phone, tablet, or whatever device they are using. This requires understanding the target users in terms of their characteristics, needs, preferences, taking into consideration their technical proficiency, domain knowledge, and accessibility requirements. You must define the user goals and tasks, create user personas that represent different types of users and help emphasize with the others, understand their motivation, and design a user interface that caters for all their specific needs. You need always even to remember those who are disabled, those with disabilities, so that the user interface can be friendly to them. So you design for usability. Emphasis is creating a user interface that is intuitive, easy to learn, and efficient to use. Then you must pay attention to information architecture, where you organize the information and functionality in a logical and structured manner, paying attention to hierarchical relationship between different user interface elements and design navigation menus. There's need for wireframing and prototyping to visualize the user interface design and test its usability, which allows iteration and refinement. Then the visual design is very important, the way the icons are arranged and all of that. And this must be in consistency with the standards. It must also have characteristics of responsiveness and adaptability. The design of the user interface must ensure that it is responsive and adaptable to different screen sizes, devices accommodating various resolutions, orientations, whether portrait or the horizontal one, and also input methods, whether you are using the touch screen or you are using a mouse. So all of these are important if your software solution is to be useful. Accessibility considerations, user feedback and testing, and you need to document the user interface design as we saw earlier. Documentation is very important. So it may be that some people who are part of the team may not necessarily be coders or those who write statistical, mathematical algorithms, but they may just specialize in documenting the processes so that that's their role. Testing process, because if you want to understand them, then you must be able to refer back to the samples that you have used, the allocations, collection dates. It's kind of research. So you define the sample types, sample registration in terms of sample ID, name, description, source, date of collection, and other metadata, sample tracking, sample storage management. So as I speak, in a way, web developer, the way you are managing your data is like a doctor managing the patient. Everything you have to pay attention to, all the details. Sample inventory management, sample data management, the provision for searching and retrieving easily, because you have big data on the climate, on plants, on soils. So you must be able to have a system with criteria such as sample ID, name, attributes, and also associated metadata to help you quickly testing, sample disposal, and archiving. We've mentioned earlier, time and again, we shall be repeating it, the practice of security and access control, who uses it, and all of that. You must develop a system based on the roles and the audit to be able to monitor and track who is using it, so that if anything goes wrong, you know where to start. Integration with other systems, this is scalability. You need to look at those options. Reporting and analytics. Then test parameter selection. If you are going to test the performance of your software solution, it is very important that you have very good criteria of selecting the parameters that you use so that they are able to point you to the goal or the objective of the coding. So you need to understand the testing objectives so that when the parameter is selected, it aligns with the objective and it is able to answer to the objectives. You have to identify the relevant parameters that are specific to the goals of testing in terms of response times for current users, because like you want to test your software. How about if 2 people are using it? How about if 50 people are using it? How about if there are a million? All of those, when you are testing, you need to take into consideration database performance, security vulnerabilities. Is it vulnerable to hackers, especially on the web and all of that? Then you have to prioritize those parameters, and this is done based on the importance, impact on overall quality. Then you are able to test based on the priority parameters. Because you don't have unlimited resources, you must be able to save resources and prioritize. When you are selecting the test parameter, you must define the test scenarios, and these specify the conditions under which the software will be tested and the expected outcomes, and help to ensure that various aspects of the software solution are evaluated. There is what we call risk-based testing, which involves assessment of potential risks. Then there is a need for stakeholder consultation. You don't just sit on your processor and then you select the test parameter.
Professor? Sorry about that. Professor's getting back.
Okay. So can we continue?
Yes, Professor.
Okay. In test parameter selection, we define measurement criteria, scalability, and feature requirements. We document the test parameters. So,
Professor, kindly
yep.
share your screen. Kindly share your screen.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen. You have it now?
Yes, Professor.
Thank you very much. So I was talking about test parameter selection. You have to define the measurement criteria, scalability, and future requirements. You must anticipate future requirements and scalability, document the test parameters, and all of those. Then test result entry. This enables users to enter test results for each selected parameter in the different dimensions, whether numeric values, multiple choice options, and text fields. So the user interface must be friendly. Test case selection. This provides a mechanism to select the appropriate test case for which results are being entered, result entry fields, and then test environment and configuration must be articulated by the testers, as it helps in reproducing issues or understanding the circumstances of the test. We are now at a stage you have already written your code, and now you are testing its performance in the real world. So we are talking about the environment you are testing, the parameters you are testing, then the results that you are posting, attachments, validation and error handling. You must take care of those, the different versions, because each and every day the different developers are adding a code here and there, they are improving. So you must be able to document the versions, their history, dates, and everything. Consideration must be made to implement the version control or a history log to track the changes in test results over time. I remember there was somebody was running a drone. Whenever it was about to land, it would just fall and break into pieces, meaning the code had a problem. So, but if you have been tracking, you can continually improve until it lands very well. Integration with test management tools. Then also security and access control. You see this practice still coming time and again, because if you don't have security for your data and process, and everybody can access it without audit or authorization, then everything may be hacked and you lose everything. Then reporting and analytics. Build features to generate reports and perform data analysis on entered test results to provide insights into software quality. Very, very clearly, because as we mentioned, even the type of programming language you use, it depends. If you are going into general purposes, maybe you may use Python. But if you are going into financial enterprises, you may have to use Java. You are going into website development and management, JavaScript. If you are going into research and simulations, you use C++. So you must be able to articulate your questions, what you want to answer, problems you want to solve, data collection, data cleaning and pre-processing. Exploratory data analysis is performed with initial visualization and summary statistics to understand data characteristics, identify patterns, and detect outliers. Data analysis techniques, interpretation. In a way, since I've been doing research, it seems like the whole process of coding is iterative, and you have to keep a record of the changes that are evolving, and you must have powerful analytics to be able to see the outcomes, the outputs, identify the patterns, detect outliers, and all of that. And you need to, for the data analysis techniques, you need to apply the appropriate statistical methods. Then in some cases, if we want to train the devices to do the operations, we use the machine learning algorithms, and all of this can help us to gain insights into the outputs from our software solution. Then interpretation, you analyze the results, draw conclusions, and validate your findings. Then reporting, you have to define your audience, clear structure. This is just like we normally write the thesis: introduction, methodology, findings, and conclusions. Then visualization using graphs, charts, tables, etc. Then reporting, data storing, where you narrate your findings with a very compelling story that links the data to the objectives and provides actionable insights, interlinked from beginning to end. Accuracy and precision. Then you need to acknowledge the limitations or any shortcomings, constraints of your analysis, and address potential biases or uncertainty. So it is important when you have done testing of your code that you have a very comprehensive report. It's like a thesis that describes the strengths and weaknesses of your program. This is just to show some of the tools that if you have built your capacity, you must be familiar with. If you are going to do some statistical analysis, spreadsheet software like Excel, Google Sheets that you can be able to interlink in and make use of. Statistical software like R, Python with the libraries, IGI, NumPy, Pandas, Skippy. Then data visualization like Tableau, Power BI, Plotlib, Seaborn, and Plotlib. Then reporting tools like we document in Microsoft Word, we can use Google Docs, and also LaTeX. Those are all that can be used. Data storage and backup, we must put in place a mechanism to store and backup data. Choose the right storage solution by evaluating your data storage needs based on criteria such as the volume, performance, scalability, and cost. Options include on-premises servers, but you can also do cloud storage or use hybrid solutions. Data organization is important. Security measures, again, is coming up. For data storage, for data redundancy, consider redundancy measures to ensure data availability in case of hardware failures. So there are tools that can help if you have hardware failures. So in the practice of coding, you don't need to fail completely. If you have gone through this life cycle, you should be able to have a checklist and make sure that risks and uncertainties are mitigated against scalability. Plan for future growth by choosing a storage solution that can scale to accommodate increasing data volumes over time. Regular backups should be done. Multiple backup locations. You know, if you may be an environment which is struck by a lot of heat, a lot of rain, and all of those. So since these are very expensive ventures, then you may consider putting it in different environments where you can safeguard the data loss against disasters. Incremental backups, these can save resources because you save on storage space as you only back up starting where you stopped last time rather than backing up all the data sets. So these are like some simple techniques that you need to learn and practice, which increase efficiency and effectiveness. Then you may also need automated backup processes. Sometimes we are humans, we forget. Regular testing and verification, you may be backing up your data, but when it is already dead, so once in a while you need to test it and see, is your data still alive, rather than keeping dead data. Disaster recovery, you must develop a disaster recovery plan and define clearly. This is like M&E, like we do roles and responsibilities of team members, backup contagious measures in case of a disaster. Then you may also have offsite backups, set up geographically separated locations to mitigate against risks. Business continuity considerations, critical assessments of data are done so that you know which critical data you must protect. Maybe if you are going to hide in a location somewhere where you think it's very safe, because you may not take there all the data, it becomes costly. So you do business continuity considerations, critical assessments, and prioritize which data you have to really safeguard. Drills and updates, as I mentioned, this is similar. You don't want to keep data that is dead. Once again, security and access control comes, which must ensure you have authentication, authorization, secure password management, secure data transmission, and all of that. For this, you need input validation, session management, secure error handling, secure updates and patch management, security configuration management, security testing. Then we move on to integration and scalability. As you know, for example, if you want to develop a software solution for soil testing, we have selection of the sampling units, then sampling the soil, drying it, conducting the analysis, making the interpretation, making the recommendation. But just identifying the sampling units is a very complex process. So if I'm going to start there, I must be able to know that I will integrate the selection of the sampling unit to the sampling number of samples taken, to drying, to analysis, and all of those. So those aspects must be taken into consideration. And so for integration, key consideration in notice integration include data model, like the model I've been explaining for soil testing. You must develop a model. If it is in health, livestock health, plant health, whatever financial health, you need to have your data model. Then the user interface, collaboration, integration points, all of those, then you know this one will be helping me with visualization of this data. You can't do everything. The data model determines how nodes are stored and associated with other entities. Collaboration features such as real-time sensing, version control, since the versions of the program continues changing or evolve, commenting, enabling multiple users to collaborate effectively. Those aspects like co-working in the same algorithm. Integration points should be identified with other systems. One of the participants mentioned that is working with SPSS. So these are the considerations you may have. How does your code feed into or receive from another software solution? Accessibility is important as it allows users to access notes from different devices and platforms. Scalability is crucial and higher system loads. So strategies for scalability include distributed architecture, load balancing, caching, database optimization, asynchronous processing, monitoring and scaling, and leveraging cloud services. Testing and quality assurance. Conduct thorough testing of the software solution to ensure functionality, performance, and reliability. Do test planning, test design, test execution, defect management, continuous improvement. Finally, once you have done your requirement gathering, analysis, you've made the design of the algorithm, you do the coding, you develop the actual algorithm or program, you do the testing, you do the quality assurance, you now come to deployment and training into the actual production environment for the end users now to reap from your sweat. So you have to provide training and documentation for users and deploy solution in the production environment. And deployment refers to the process of releasing and installing the software solution into a production environment for end users to access. Aspects to consider are the environmental setup, which involves preparing the production environment to host the software solution, including provisioning servers, installing necessary software dependencies, configuring network settings, as well as securing the environment by implementing appropriate access controls and security measures. Time and again, access control configuration management is also crucial. Deployment. Release management focuses on planning and coordinating the release of the software solution. You may have version 1, version 2, version 3. So you have to be able to have, I don't know whether it's a team or whatever, management systems or mechanisms for this release management, who know that this is the version that is out this date, and when are we phasing it out, and how are we, if we phase it out and our users still are going to continue using our software, how do we handle all those processes to ensure that they have the corrective version of the software deployed and the deployment process is well documented and reproducible. Then you have to monitor the whole process of how you are managing your releases and all of that to track the performance and availability of software solution in the production environment, including monitoring system resources, application logs, and user activity, which helps to identify and resolve issues promptly and ensuring stability and optimal performance of software solution in the production environment. Do training needs analysis, which involves assessing knowledge, skills, gaps of the target audience, including identification of training objectives, determining the appropriate training methods, and defining the training content. Training content development, this is where you develop the training materials, manuals, guides, tutorials, and videos to help the users with different functionalities to evaluate. I hope, Stephen, you are planning for the evaluation. You see, what we are talking about is what we are implementing a bit, the practice. So we end there with the acknowledgements. Once again, I acknowledge Commonwealth of Learning, Government of Uganda, Swiss, Board of National Council of Higher Education, local governments of Wakiso District, Board of Directors, Light Open and Blended University, members of Light Open and Blended University Council. I close and submit to Stephen Kazua.
Thank you so much, Professor, for that comprehensive talk and presentation. We are really very grateful. You have really made us understand this section, and I'm very sure now people have the idea on what we call capacity, building. Professors emphasized well everything, but I want, Professor, maybe my question, I wanted you to just throw more light on what I think it was practice to teach and teaching to practice. Can you throw some light on those two?
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if I should go back and share and close the sharing, or I just talk about it.
Just talk about it. It is okay.
Okay, thank you very much. What I've been doing today is teaching the practice.
Yes, Professor. Professor, you can continue. We didn't hear you. We ended when you are saying teaching the practice.
Yeah, somehow it goes off. So what I was saying is that today I was teaching the practice of delivering, of building the capacity for delivering a software solution to address a specific problem. So I just went through what you need to do in practice, what you need to do in practice. So teaching what you need to do in practice, building on the skilling which you do in empowerment, where you have the language and all of that. Language was yesterday. You now have the skills, but now you have to go through the whole practice of requirement gathering, analysis, design, coding, testing, quality assurance, deployment, and training. All those are real practices. And one thing I said, for capacity building, significant resources are required. So now, practice teaching. Practice teaching is where you who have been the learners now sit in the driving seat and maybe whether remotely or physically, like me, I watch when you are going through the practice of requirement gathering and you do it and we see that you are doing it. When you finish it, you do again the analysis of the information you have gathered. Then you design what you are designing, whether what you are designing is for identifying the sampling units of a soil, or what you are designing is algorithms for drying it, or for analyzing, or for interpreting. You see the different ones. So I see you doing that. So like for soil testing, I could have 7 students. One is working on the algorithm, and it goes through this entire process we have gone through and develops their code, and we see the integration which we have been looking at. So what I've been doing today is teaching the practice of coding. But in the future, in our university, we want to emphasize more, and that's what makes Light Open and Blended University unique. We want practice teaching, where we see you in the driving seat, going through these processes yourself until you deliver your product on the market, in the production environment, and you are able to train the people to use your program. Is that clear?
Very clear, Professor. Thank you so much.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Okay. Members, do we have any person with a question? Anyone who has a question? Madam Lillian, are we together? Okay. I think, okay.
Just a moment. Good afternoon, and thank you, Professor, for taking us through. Just for inquiry, Lobo, is it a new university in Uganda, and what are the courses that are there, if at all they're within Uganda?
Thank you very, very much. It is an upcoming university. We are in discussions with the National Council of Higher Education. We have submitted our application. We are registered. We even have a website. But what we are waiting for is licensing. And so we wanted to begin testing the ground using teachers and maybe vacationists. But we've been invited by the National Council of Higher Education to link up so that we monitor our process of registration online. They have an integrated management information system. So we are hoping soon we will be fully licensed. But in practice, like for me, I want to begin with the soil health or plant health, where we do coding and we have sensors monitoring the testing. You know, in the past, I led a team that invented the soil test, which is analog. Now I want to move it to digital, where we have sensors and they are bringing in information in the computer. Then we also get information on the plant We also get information from the weather data, climate, like rainfall, temperature, and relative humidity. Then we do a whole plant algorithms for the plants. Then I have already a team who are interested in health sciences. They will use basically the same information, and we do it for health sciences. Then I have been having a workshop called Bamba Forge, where we were making knives. So I want also to go into mechanical engineering and then use the coding. Instead of making the knives, we would have robots and whatever automations to make the knives rapidly. So we will be in the different fields. As you see, it is a very simple process. So for the university, I'm going to develop a dashboard beginning with the knowledge, understanding, wisdom, empowerment, capacity building, capability, then innovation. So for all of those, then whichever area a student comes, we shall be able to help them based on that dashboard. We know exactly what the
We lost you, Professor. Professor? I think Professor is getting some network issues, but Mr. Basil, you can read more about the Light and Open Branded University, like how the professor has been telling you. They have their philosophy, and it is mainly going to be about, it is a lot that is going to be taking place at that university. And they have started with this initiative to ensure that students that are in holiday are well equipped. They have worked on some projects already. So these are some of the projects that have been worked on under the agriculture, and there is a lot more that is coming. So there is a lot, and Professor will talk. So Professor, are you back?
I'm back.
Okay, you can continue. Like Professor, you ended.
I don't know why today the network. We will basically help everybody based on the dashboard. So what I'm thinking quickly, maybe in capability is where I'm going to hand a little bit of this, because now in capability, once we have built capacity and you have the resources, we can now assume, like, for example, you want to do a master's or a PhD, and you have a specific area you want. When you come and we discuss, we clearly define where your capability will be. So once you've gone through the practice teaching, then based on your capability, you select the area you are going to do, and then we help you develop your code on your innovations and all of that. So what we are offering is the dashboard, which is very comprehensive, which can help you to clearly determine your entry point and the product you have. Whether it is in earth sciences, as I mentioned, or in plant sciences, which I'm very familiar with. I'm also familiar with mechanical because I've been making knives and all of those. So those are things that we can basically, actually in the PhD, which I did, we do a scientific method. And once you have a scientific method, you can supervise any area in the world. And I think we are capable of that. We can just get a team of others to help, whether within Uganda or outside, but we can be able to help you achieve your life goals.
Thank you so much, Professor. Do we have any other questions, members? Okay. Okay. Let's make Mr. Basil, we are together.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof, for enlightening me about that. Because some of the words I didn't know that Lobo is a upcoming university. Thank you for the free but no charge, and thank you for the information I've got. I think I will enjoy reaching there and see what opportunities lies ahead there. Because some of those things, if you don't interact, you can't know that they are there. So I think joining this session has helped us also to get to know Lobu, and we shall get to know it more. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Stephen, maybe you need to announce we have the last lesson on mind and capability, which may touch a little bit of what they are asking, what capability really means after you have built capacity. That's more to the individual. You see, that's why I like the way we have handled this. It naturally feeds into the next question. So what they're asking is what we are going to handle under capability. Then from there, we have the practical on Tuesday. Maybe make some announcements on the registration and we close it.
Okay, Professor. Okay, dear members, next week, we are going to have a practical session. Like Basil, you have said, you may wish to reach where we shall have the practical session. So that practical session is going to be at the university premises where the university is going to be. And we want to call everyone that is on this call to register for that session. Why? Because we want to prepare for that day, such that we know that these are the numbers we shall expect to have on that day, such that we can be able to prepare for you. So when you check in the chat now, I'm sharing a registration. So those who have not yet filled in the registration, kindly fill it in, take a few minutes, fill it in, and then after, we shall get your feedback. We are going to go on, after your registration, we are going to go on and create a special WhatsApp group for the people who are going to attend the physical session, mainly. Yeah, we shall create a special WhatsApp group for those who are coming, and we are going to add the numbers that you have filled in that form. So where is the venue? The venue is going to be at Open and Blended University. And where is it located? The campus is along Gayaza Road to a stage called Kaya Stage, opposite what we call Katalemwa Estates. So that's where we shall be on the 12th of December, 2023, which is next week at Tuesday. So we want to invite you, for the students that are going to come for the hands-on session, kindly inform your parents early, such that they can be able to drop you on that day, and then they can be in position to pick you. But in case you can bring yourself, so much the better. So that's
we are losing you time and again.
Oh, what about now?
Now I can hear you.
Okay, okay. So we shall be on that come next week. So please fill in the form such that we can get to know how many people we shall expect, and also that we can be in position to prepare the particular equipments that we need for those people who are going to come. So we shall deal with practicals, hands-on, applying all what Professor has been teaching us for the past week. Yeah, I want to end here unless someone has a burning question. Yeah, but in case we don't have any burning question, kindly, for you to access the notes, to access the recordings, all these recordings have been posted on the YouTube channel. You can kindly go there. And also we are using the Google Classroom. For those who have not yet joined that classroom, that's where we are posting the work and also making any announcement that we may have. So those who have not yet joined the Google Classroom, kindly just click on that link in the chat, and then you'll be able to join the class. Otherwise, I want to thank all the students, all the teachers, and everyone that has been able to join this call. Most I want also to thank the professor for always preparing, being on time for the activities, to ensure that everyone learns something. I want to let you know that the knowledge you are learning now is going to be applicable, and is still applicable for the students. Those concepts are going to be applicable. So kindly take note of them, In case you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And always, in case there's anything that you didn't get in during the lesson, kindly check on the YouTube, check the links that are being shared, and then you can be able to recap anything that you have missed. Otherwise, thank you so much, and allow me to wish you a good evening. Bye-bye, everyone.